Hi everyone, I'm Adrian from Audio Excellence. That's Jay, that's Philip. Thank you for watching us today. I thought today we might do a retrospective sound comparison. Well, let's do the audio first of just the amplifier. I believe the MC1201s were manufactured between 2001 and 2006. We became a dealer right around about 2006, so we were fortunate enough to hear the very last versions of it and sold quite a few pairs, as a matter of fact. So they're rated at 1200 watts per amplifier. One of the first things you'll notice is how huge they are and how heavy they are. Big, huge meters in the front, 147 pounds each. Now, what's interesting is I was doing some research about the amplifier, and the huge meters were handmade in the UK, originally designed for automobile test systems, and they actually measure real power output. This is interesting because I didn't realize that a lot of meters on amplifiers that you might see are based around a dummy load. So, for example, it assumes that it's an 8 ohm load from a speaker. The McIntosh meters actually do not assume that. So what you actually see is real power output. So when you see the amplifier meters showing 500 watts, 700 watts, whatever it is, that is actually very, very close to the real power output. The other thing also is that the meters are 10 times faster than professional VU meters. And then finally, the amplifier can be triggered. So when you connect up a 3.5 millimeter stereo cable, when you turn on your preamplifier, the amplifier will also be turned on at the same time. And then finally, the amplifiers retailed for $18,000 US in 2006. Anyway, who wants to start?
Not it.
What?
Not it.
Not it. What does that mean?
Oh,
You're always
it's
it.
a millennial thing.
Oh, okay.
You're always it.
Well, who did it the last time? I think.
Oh, I don't know. It's
So,
all,
Jay.
we've done so many of these, it's like just a
I'll
blur.
go first.
All right, Jay, go ahead.
Well,
Because you always complain that when he says
yeah,
he
says
describes everything, you say you have nothing to say.
He does the same thing, so I might as well go first.
Yes, but I'll have insights that
All right, Philip.
you just watch.
So I found the 1201s somewhere between the modern McIntosh and the vintage McIntosh. It has authority, it has warmth that a typical McIntosh has. When I say typical, I mean like the monoblocks type of typical. Has a lot of power, a lot of headroom. Just overall very easy to listen to presentations. I mean, the thing is incredible. It's like I played a track that it's like a murder track for me, because when I play these on normal speakers, well, when I say normal amplifiers, it tends to come out very sibilant. And what's the track again? What's the thing I played?
Billy Joel.
Yeah, Billy Joel.
It's actually not a good track. It's a terrible
not.
track.
What was it called? Billy Joel?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm Moving Out. That's the one. Yeah.
You guys are listening to all the music I play now. I have the Billy Joel radio station on
Well, it's exciting.
Cool.
The track is exciting if you play on the right system. I personally like it. Don't know about people out there.
I'm beginning to get annoyed by it.
Wow.
How can anybody be annoyed by Billy
Because he
Joel?
plays it all the time.
Well, it's like a typical track for me to see if the system is somewhat forgiving. But the 1201s, like by far, even compared to other modern Macintoshes or in that era that I played around with, it's really forgiving. And surprisingly, when I played that track, I didn't find it bright whatsoever. I didn't find it aggressive whatsoever. In fact, it made it sound better. So I really like that. It has like a smooth mid-range characteristic, like that's a typical of McIntosh, but a little bit more, again, forgiving, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more laid back. And instruments have really good tonal characteristics to them. It may not be the most accurate or the most fast type of sound, but it's very relaxed. Again, the top end is not too overly forward. or not forward at all. Oh my God, this is why I'm not a morning person. But yeah, it has that typical McIntosh sound, but at a much more laid back than compared to the modern McIntosh. But it's not.
But we're not comparing.
But it's not as viewed as the old. Well, I need a comparison to explain. It's not as viewed as the older McIntosh pieces that I played around with. So,
Veiled?
yes.
It's veiled.
No, veiled.
He's talking about veal.
Yeah.
How could you? Those are cute little cows.
Yeah, I love those.
Young cows.
Go to Pazano's, in North York. It's very good view.
Okay.
Can we do this videos at night? Because I'm not like a night owl, not a morning person.
How do you like the 1200 watts?
Well, I mean,
Did you play anything that taxed the amplifier?
no. Just no possible way of doing that, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, practically, I think it's made to drive anything. I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Adrian, but I believe it has a 2-ohm tab.
It does.
Yeah, and I was looking at that going like, who the hell is going to use a 2-ohm tab on this? But yeah, it should drive practically anything.
During my research, Stereophile did a review of the 1201s, and in the beginning of the review, the reviewer, I'm trying to remember his name, Jonathan Scull, I think it was, interviewed one of the people at McIntosh, and the gentleman talked about how if you look at the meters, they are calibrated to 1200 watts, but in smaller script. I think in our earlier video, the one that we're going to upload first, we talk about how you can actually see 2400 watts and 4800 watt markings. Now, the amplifier will not sustainably play 2400 watts and 4800 watts, but interestingly enough, if you push it hard enough, I'm not saying that you should because you could damage your speakers, it actually will hit over 1200 watts in dynamic headroom. It's incredibly powerful amplifier. Yeah, so...
But you need an 20 amp circuit for that. 15 amp won't do it. It's not enough.
So, yeah, you might be right. But all I'm saying is that it's interesting that you can actually get that kind of power out of that amplifier.
Yeah, I mean, the transformer, my God, it's huge. It's tall and wide. And so, I mean, it outputs a lot of power, and it's just McIntosh. I mean, what more can you ask of it? It's beautiful. Beautiful meters, beautiful sound. Might not be as refined as the modern gear McIntosh, but we'll get to that. It's so hard because I have to separate my ideas from just the 1201 to the comparison video that we're going to do.
This video is like a taste.
Yes, and then we're going to do a comparison after, so I have to divide my thoughts, which I'm very bad at, especially in the morning.
Yes. Philip, what do you think?
Well, so they'll have a story, as per usual. I listened to and owned a lot of Mac gear up to that point back in 2006. Bought 2205s, love those. And yep. So the story goes something like this. I went to see Ricky and Mike when they had Ovation Audio after they took off from you. From the store, and because I don't know, I like those guys, and when I went there, they were a Mac dealer, and I listened to a pair of 501s, which I really loved, and because I was looking for something that was more modern with more detail, and the 501s were it, but I couldn't afford them, and obviously the 1201s came out at the same time, so this was the first time I got to listen to them, and based on my memories, my memories, and for someone my age, those memories are good. I can't remember anything like that happened 5 minutes ago, but 20 years ago, not a problem, right? So I remember listening to the 501s, and they had a kind of a soft sound. They weren't quite as musical in my opinion as the 2205s that I owned at the time. But when I listened to the 1201s, they were reminiscent of the same kind of presentation. So there was a kind of a little bit, it had warmth, but the major difference is that it's a very powerful amp. It doesn't matter what volume you're playing at. There's a dynamic there's dynamics in the mid range that are quite unusual and unique for most amplifiers that you would ever get a chance to listen to. Because most times you don't get to listen to such big amplifiers, such powerful amplifiers. And so I'm sitting there, and within, I don't know, 5 seconds, it was like, wow, it was so good. There was a musicality in that mid-range with that sense of dynamics and authority, and it was warm, and it was weighty, and it had mass, it had meat. It was hitting me in such a way that it seemed solid, and I don't often hear that in an amplifier. Now the top end was okay, but so overall my impression of it was that there was this warm wash of liquidity coming at me at any volume. It didn't really matter. We had it low, we had it high. It was just a mass of sound coming at me in a way that just kind of gave me a big hug. And I'd never really experienced that before. I didn't realize this amp could do that. So super, 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 super impressive in a way that no modern amp does anymore. Nothing sounds like that. So I was very, very surprised. Like, I didn't remember the 501s being that good, and these definitely are that good in a way that, you know, if you get a chance to hear them, you should. You really should. They're, you know, I don't know what else to say. I was so impressed. I said, wow, just wow. So that's my two cents.
Go ahead, Jake.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that, well, the 2205, I didn't find it very similar to the 1201s, but I just find it a different presentation.
You never listened to them.
McIntosh sound.
I had Tannoy GRF autographs.
Okay, well, maybe different speakers. That's why. But yeah, I just found the 2205s to be a little bit more. I found the 2205s to be more cleaner sounding, at least from my memory. And yours is 20 years ago, so maybe mine was like a few years back. Maybe it wasn't up to spec. I don't know, but I found it less warmer of a less meatier of a presentation than the 1201. I found the 1201 to be much more meatier.
I didn't say the 2205 was meatier. I just said the 1201
was more musical. Is well, for me, musicality means like, you know, meaty, you know, warmth and that kind of stuff. So however you want to define musicality, but I find the 1201s overall more musical, at least to my preferences. Yeah.
So you agree with me then?
Well, I thought you said you found the 2205 more musical.
No.
Oh, the opposite? Okay.
I said that was my reference point, and I wanted something like that. I listened to the 501s, which had a certain softness. It was pretty good. It had more clarity. It had better definition. Yeah. And the 1201s actually seemed to be like the 2205 in terms of that kind of solidity in that mid-range that, you know, well, you know,
so you like the 1201s better than the MC2205?
Well, it's night and day. Right, but
so
it does stuff that I never heard before,
so for those
even
of
up
you
to
that
now.
Were sleeping through the stories like me, there you go. Clarify. He likes it better than the 2205.
Okay, so let me give my 2 cents. I've been a McIntosh fan for a long time. My father had McIntosh, and so of course you have these wonderful early memories. When I became conscious in terms of the fact that amplifiers actually did have their own sound, and it wasn't just early reminiscence and nostalgia. I bought my first McIntosh that I bought for myself was an integrated MA5100 from a store called High Fidelity Shop. They did a wonderful thing for me. They introduced me to a piece that Philips likes to call it an heirloom piece. In essence, a poor, struggling student could afford $500. $500.
I had a 5100 too. I loved it.
And you know, it wasn't, you know, great by standards of today's amplifiers and so on, but it made me want to play music all the time. And a lot of it had to do with just how it looked, how wonderful it felt when I touched the controls. I remember McIntosh at the time. If I can ever find this catalog, I'll pull it out and show it to you. Beautiful book, if you will. The picture on the outside, or I think it was the inside, was a McIntosh employee wearing, I don't know if this is true, but my mind is playing tricks, wearing some sort of a lab coat and with a wall of McIntosh pieces with instruments, and then there's another picture that shows somebody cleaning the glass faceplate. It spoke of hand craftsmanship. It spoke of bespokeness in a way, even though it's not. But anyway, it created all these warm and fuzzies. Then years later, and I started to collect some, but I always knew in the back of my mind that they weren't the best sounding electronics that were available back in the 80s and 90s when I first really started getting into this industry. There were always better amplifiers. At the time, the hot amps on the market were Audio Research, Conrad Johnson, Spectral, Mark Levinson, and even Krell. And all of them certainly were, in many respects, more transparent, faster, better imaging, better detail, all those kinds of things that as a young audiophile, that's what I was chasing after. And so for quite a long time, I completely forgot about McIntosh. Fast forward 2006, we had an opportunity to become a dealer, and I was really very concerned. I was thinking in the back of my mind, I don't know that McIntosh is going to sound as good as the competition. I was really concerned that it wouldn't be good enough for our client base. Now, to be fair, I had not heard the contemporary McIntosh pieces, but the rep, thank you very much, Dale, at the time, said, Adrian, I will put up McIntosh against anything today. It will have its own strengths. It will have weaknesses like everything, but it will easily be comparable. And we finally decided to bite the bullet and ordered a bunch of it. And I will tell you, it was a big bunch. I was scared to death. It was a big order. It arrived, we unpacked it, the MC501s, the 1201s, the preamps, the C2200, which we will also do a review on. And I can tell you, I was stunned at how good McIntosh was, those pieces. No, they were not as quick as a Krell. We were selling Krell at the time. It was not as iron gripped in the bass as a Krell. It did not have the kind of clarity and transparency that a Krell or even Spectral, which we also had some pieces at the time. But overall, it made listening to music so relaxed and so easy. You still heard all the detail. It just wasn't spotlit. It just wasn't bright. It wasn't in your face. It was just so good. And then when you put it into perspective, the cost of a McIntosh compared to the others, it was easily anywhere from 30 to 50% less than all the other pieces on the market. And then, of course, you had this gorgeous looking electronics. So within a very short period of time, we were going like gangbusters. Clients were absolutely in love with the sound. And so that's the backdrop behind our beginnings with McIntosh. The 1201 in particular, we sold, again, as I mentioned earlier, this was towards the end of the 1201s. We sold easily 6 or 7 pairs within maybe 5 or 6 months. And one pair in particular went to a client who still has the Genesis 1 speakers, top of the line speakers that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And those drove the main panel that goes all the way down to 70 hertz, and then they have dedicated woofer towers with their own dedicated amplifiers. But that McIntosh was one of the few amps that could easily drive that panel in a humongous space. I don't think you guys have ever been to Richard's house.
No.
Humongous space, absolutely huge space, effortlessly, without any strain whatsoever, smooth as silk, great detail that would bring out the best of the Genesis without any kind of brightness or harshness. Again, for that time, it was just a wonderful experience to see what the 1201s can do. I really like these amplifiers very much. As one of the boys said, if you ever get a chance to hear it, definitely check it out. And they don't oftentimes come up. I think this is the first pair we've seen in a very long time. Because typically when a client buys something of this level quality, they will keep it. But if you get a chance and you can buy a pair, this pair is for sale. You can check our website once we upload the information. If you're interested, I don't think we can ship them. Huh? We don't have any boxes.
No, there are no boxes.
So local pickup only. They are in great shape. We're just involved in helping the clients sell them. They don't belong to us, but I would have no hesitation recommending them. Anyway, any last words?
Well, so at the time I was really into single-winded, triode amps, low power tubes, big horns, and someone got me back into McIntosh. So like I said, I got a 5100, ended up with all the tube amps, and then bought a 2205 because I bought JBLs, and then that changed my perspective. And one thing I will say was the first time I actually figured out that here was a transistor electronics I could actually listen to the entire day, and I wouldn't even know it. So that's a great testament to the McIntosh tradition, and that's something that a lot of people don't know. I mean, there's no apologizing for it. It's just really great stuff. Maybe not entirely like the audiophile stuff, but equally as valid. And the 1201s are real proof of that.
I was just thinking about an analogy, how to sort of explain sound. It's very difficult because sound is each of us experiences it differently. But if you're into cars or bikes or whatever it is, you have your supercars. Take no prisoners, the Porsche GT3s. The suspension is really hard. For a person who's on the track, that's the kind of car you want. And then you have the super saloons, like what Mercedes has been making, or Audi with the S4s and things like that, where you get a combination of really powerful engines with strong enough suspensions, but not ones that would kill you. And yet, air conditioning works. You have massage seats. You have all these other things. And then for the odd time where you want to just go on the on-ramp or go on the highway and just see how quickly the car can spool up, those kinds of super saloons. That's what the McIntosh, I think, is, and why I think they are so popular and successful among us and our clients, because it sort of combines almost everything into one solution, as opposed to making you choose between pure performance and a regular day-to-day car. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but it works for me. Yeah. Anyway, I think this video is long enough. We'll do the next video where we'll compare the 1201s to the latest version, the 1.25 kW. And
remember what Jay said in this video doesn't apply to the other video. Because he'll come up with new stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. As always, if you like the video, please subscribe, turn on the notification, give us a thumbs up, share, like the videos. The money that we get from these videos, we match and donate to the Salvation Army. So thank you very much for your support. I'm Adrian, Philip, Jay. We're from Audio Excellence Canada. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.